Good evening. I'm here with my laptop. I'm going to try to explain bioethics to the layman. Uh, Bioethics is a subject with which we should all be somewhat familiar. The principle of do no harm is pretty universal when it comes to medicine, but sometimes the line between right and wrong can be a thin one. Instances where humans and even animals are used for experimentation and data gathering are sometimes something most would consider wrong. What would determine the measure of justness in a biomedical action would be the offering of implied consent, what Weitz 2017 calls it when subjects voluntarily agree to participate in the research with a full understanding of the potential risk and benefits. This gets taken to the next level when we question a patient's right to die. Is someone on life support? Are there a legal guardian allowed to take them off? Or, I mean, there's legal jargon for all that. The late Dr. Jack Kevorkian is a famous pathologist who was called Dr. Death for advocating physician related suicide. He claims to have assisted at least 130 people towards such an end. Most recent, but a related cases of a kind of bioethical crux is in the woman's right to have an abortion, to terminate their pregnancy. This involves two living beings, and is probably the most controversial political platform that has opposing sides. The so-called pro-choice advocates insist that the woman carrying the fetus has jurisdiction over her own body. But the other side, the so-called pro-life, give the infant, the fetus, personhood. A fine bioethical issue. We have time. A final bioethical issue we have time to mention might be stem cell research. According to Weitz 2017, there are two ways to get stem cells, which may be used themselves to replace neurons damaged by spinal cord injury, stroke, Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, or other neurological problems, among a few other things. First, scientists can grow stem cells in a laboratory. After harvesting them from adults or from fetal blood left from the woman's blood system after giving birth. No ethical issues have been raised about this use of stem cells, which now accounts for about half of all research in the area. Second, scientists can grow stem cells from embryos. To do so, researchers fertilize human eggs with sperm in a laboratory to turn them into embryos. They then leave the embryos for a week or so until each is grown into a few hundred cells, and then they extract their stem cells. I do not believe that parents, or at least I don't remember parents being financially reimbursed for the stem cells that are collected from after a child is delivered, from what remains after a child is delivered. And that could be an ethical issue of itself. And then you hear of Planned Parenthood an organization that has been in the news for allegedly selling aborted fetuses for the stem cells they contain. That would be an atrocity of sort, but to terminate a life only to have that life harvested to improve life for others is almost a perfect circle. Regardless of where you stand on the issue, with the parents of an unborn child deciding not to continue with its life, it might be a more economic dilemma than a bioethical one. According to adoption.com, the cost of a surgical abortion is anywhere from $400 to $2,000. However, the cost of an adoption can be from $1,500 to $50,000 depending on the circumstances. So in conclusion, we see that to simply do no harm is not so simple a task.